What's up guys, Jesse right here with YouCouldBe.com, and in today's video I'm going to tell you what to expect from your Section 8 inspections. Alright, so in this video I'm not going to give you an exhaustive list. I'm going to give you the list of things that I have encountered with Section 8, and that is going to be something that is going to be a little bit different in every area. It's going to be a little bit different depending on the inspector you get, but I can give you a general idea of what to expect when you have a Section 8 inspection, and I'll give you a few tips on how to handle those Section 8 inspections as well. Okay, so after you find a tenant that you're intending to work with and you've filled out your request for tenancy, you've sent that over to Section 8, they're going to schedule an inspection. And this inspection is set up, it's put in place in order to protect the tenant. So if you think about it that way, if you think about the fact that they're having this inspection specifically to protect the tenant, then that kind of gives you an idea of where you need to go when you're preparing your house for this inspection. If you kind of follow the things that I talk about in my other videos where you're just basically trying to make your house safe, clean, and functional, you'll be all right. I will give you a few things that Section 8 really seems to care a lot about, and I'm just going to kind of work through the list, okay? So the very first one is your windows. Especially in all the bedrooms, the windows need to be able to open and close. You have to have a point of egress. They have to be able to get out of that house if there's a fire in the house, and that means that if you have bars on those windows to keep burglars from getting in, then there needs to be a way for the tenant to get out easily if there is a fire. So Section 8 is going to want you to have either a latch on those bars or a deadbolt that you can twist. Now, some of them will let you get away with putting a deadbolt on those bars that requires a key if you have the key hanging right next to the window. Most of them will not. So, you know, you're going to have to decide how you want to handle that, if you wanted to just try to get away with it and see if Section 8 will pass you with that setup of the key, or if you actually have to get the deadbolts or the safety latch. Along with that, obviously you need to make sure that there are no broken windows. They will fail you if they see a broken window pane, and that's something that's very easy to fix. You should just go ahead and make sure all of your windows are in good working order and that there are no broken panes before the inspection. Now, some Section 8 inspectors want to see screens on all of the windows, but not all of them. Most of the time, they don't bother me about screens. And so if it's a window that I don't think is going to be opened ever or very infrequently, I probably am not going to worry about putting a screen on that window unless Section 8 tells me I have to put a screen on that window. But some inspectors are sticklers for that, and so you'll just have to get a feel for your particular area and decide if you want to go ahead and pay to put screens on all of your windows or if you want to wait and see what the Section 8 inspector has to say. All right, the next thing you need to think about are your circuits, your outlets. A lot of the houses that I buy are two-pronged outlets when I buy them. Sometimes Section 8 wants to see three-pronged outlets or GFCI outlets. So, for instance, if you have wiring, old wiring that does not have ground wires anywhere throughout the house, then what you need to do if you're not going to rewire the house, and if Section 8 makes you do this, I would not do it unless Section 8 makes you do this, is you need to put GFCI outlets all throughout the house. And you have to put a sticker on them, and the sticker will come in the box, and it will say this is a non-grounding outlet. That will get your electrical up to code as far as your outlets goes. It will still protect them if for some reason there is a ground fault, and it'll keep you okay with Section 8. So that is something that's very expensive. It's about, $15, $20 an outlet, and you might have 20, 30 outlets in the house. So I would only recommend doing that if Section 8 actually asks you to do that. All right, the next thing that we have on our list is water heaters. A lot of these old houses that I buy, the water heaters are in, a laundry room or something like that. And they're just kind of out in the open. Section 8 needs to see a closet with a door on that closet, and I believe they want to see a latch on that closet as well that is probably 4 feet off the ground. And the reason they want to see that is they want to make sure that no kids can get into the hot water heater, burn themselves. If it's a gas water heater, they want to make sure that they're not going to be sticking their hands in there and getting, like I said, burnt. So again, it's a safety issue. Now, it does not have to be a beautiful closet, I've seen a lot of guys, they put together, something made out of plywood and 2x4s, and that's fine. It's just a safety issue. But you do need to have some sort of a closet around your hot water heater. They also want to see a discharge pipe that's running down to about 2 inches above the floor, and that's coming out of the overflow valve. The reason for that is normally when you see these overflow valves on a hot water heater, they're either on the side of the hot water heater, but they're fairly up high, or they're actually on top of the hot water heater. And these overflow valves are made so that if something happens and the water is boiling to the point where that hot water heater is going to explode, that pressure will build up. Instead, water will shoot out of that valve. Now, if you're standing next to this hot water heater when the water shoots out of that valve and there's no discharge pipe, then all of that is going to spray either on your face or on your upper body, and that's not something that Section 8 wants to deal with. So they just want that pipe going down to the floor about 2 inches above the floor, and that takes care of that problem. All right, so the next two items are more on the cleanliness side and the functionality side. So first up, we have our appliances. All of your appliances need to work. If you have fans in your Section 8 rental property, if they're ceiling fans, I actually would recommend taking them out before you have your inspection, because that's just something that it's something else that can break, and most tenants do not care if they have ceiling fans or not, as long as they have good HVAC. So I recommend taking out your ceiling fans, but if you do want to keep them there, they have to work, and anytime they break, if they're broken when you have your yearly Section 8 inspection, you're going to have to come out and you're going to have to fix it. And at that point, you're not going to get away with replacing that ceiling fan with just a regular, $10 light from Walmart. So if you're going to remove them, go ahead and remove them before you have a lease signed. Obviously, your HVAC needs to work. Your stove needs to work. If you have a gas stove, then all of the burners need to be able to light without using a match. So the little ignition switch, whatever that's called, that has to work on its own. If it doesn't work, you're going to have to either get that fixed or get a new stove. Same thing with the actual oven portion. If you have to light it with a match, it will not pass the inspection. Obviously, your fridge has to work. And one thing that I've noticed, and it might just be in my local area, but they're very particular about the filters that go inside your vent-a-hood that goes over the stove. If there's a bunch of grease and just a bunch of gross stuff in that filter, they're going to want you to replace it. So go ahead and buy yourself an $8 filter, throw it in the vent-a-hood before the inspection, and you won't have to worry about that problem. Also, roofing. If you have any kind of leaks in your ceiling, any kind of brown water spots, it doesn't matter if there's an existing leak or there used to be a leak in your roof, that might cause a Section 8 inspector to tell you need to get your roof replaced. So first, make sure that the roof is no longer leaking, then go ahead and cover those brown spots up with kilts, and then put a coat or two of white ceiling paint on top of that. You can just feather it in, and that should save you having to replace an entire roof just because of a few brown spots on your ceiling. Now, the last thing that I have noticed, it's more of a structural thing, a functionality thing. If you have any kind of foundation problems in your house, they won't necessarily bother you for that unless it's affecting the functionality of the house. So for instance, if you have a front door and at the bottom of that door on one side there's a 2-inch gap and on the other side there's a 1/4 of an inch gap, they're gonna make you at least put a door sweep on that door so that bugs and cold air and things like that can't get inside. And also, if you have any kind of flooring problems, if you have excessive cracking in your floors, they're going to make you fix that as well. But all in all, it's pretty easy in my experience anyway to pass these inspections. It might be more difficult in other local areas, but for me, as long as you keep it safe, clean, and functional and follow a few general guidelines, it's not going to be that difficult for you. I would definitely not recommend that you completely ignore Section 8 just because you don't want to deal with the inspections, because it's a great program. It makes me a lot of money. It can make you a lot of money, and typically they pay more than what you would get for market rent in the kind of areas that I invest in anyway. And so any kind of losses that you might have because of working with Section 8 will be offset by the benefits that you can receive by working with Section 8. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps it up. If you have not joined the Rental Property Investors group on Facebook, be sure to do that. It's a great place for you to ask questions, not only of me, but of other investors. I'm going to put a link for that in the description below. Also, please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and be sure to hit that notification bell so that you can know every single time I make a video. And that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video.